We're back. Season 3. Colleen, I missed you.
I missed you too. That curling show back for a third season. It's fun. It's
Unbelievable.
Still lots to talk about.
Yeah, unbelievable. Curling fans, we've missed you. It's been a long off season, but we are bringing the heat this season. A jam-packed show to get started. We'll tell you who's hot and who's not. We'll have a chat with Reid Carruthers, fresh off another PointsBet victory. And then we'll get into going around the rinks, world rankings. It's all ahead. Call, buckle up.
You said it was a long off season. This was a short off season. Curling started in August. So, hey, we're buckled. We're buckled up.
Curling now enters the Sports Weekend spotlight.
We're going to get right to it right now. Who's hot and who's not? A new segment on the show. We're spicy. We're getting spicy. Cole.
I like this. You know who I think is red hot, scary hot, killer hot? Homan. Oh my. Her back skipping and doing what she does, calling the game. She looks fierce. She looks intense. She looks, if I'd be scared to play her. She looks that dominating again. Don't you think?
Well, yes, I do think, because we actually didn't plan this and we didn't actually talk about who's hot and who's not before. We weren't going to compare notes. You're looking at my notes, Call, because I also believe Rachel Homan looks scary good. And listen, she won the PointsBet a month after delivering her third child. Of course, she made all those headlines when she was super pregnant, winning all of those slams. Is there anything that the superwoman Rachel Homan can't do? Who's not hot to start the season, Call?
Okay. It's just too early for that question, right? Because you look at, what is Goose, PointsBet, and Shorty Jenkins, and that's on Curling Club Ice. It's hard to judge it, when you're looking at Curling Club Ice. So it's hard to kind of, Goose is always going to be hot, right? But expect him to be hot.
So what? Am I hearing from you that Gushu's not hot? Is that what you're saying?
Which is hot. I'm just saying it's hard to judge anybody right now. Not enough competition in yet. Right now, the top teams are still the top teams on the men's side. Gushu, Botcher, Cooey, and Dunstone, not necessarily in that order. And ditto on the women's side. It's sort of a two-horse race still on the women's side with Carrie Anderson and Rachel Homan. We need 2 more spiels before we dive into who's in trouble already.
All throughout the year, we're going to talk about the standings, the world rankings, both by country and the team standings. Call. You want to grab that whiteboard? Because I don't know if I've checked the updated standings.
You want the whiteboards? You want whiteboard action right now? Whiteboard action right now, Devin.
Let's get it going. Okay.
Those champions, Tirizoni and Mowat, are still on top. Botcher's climbed his way into number 2 with Gushu number 3, or Tornes. I love that. And how about Ryan Fry coaching the Italians now? Adine is there. I'm surprised Adine's down that low, because I always will put him up likely number 1 or number 2. But again, early days. Dunstone, Schwaller, White. I'm curious about how he's going to will we ever see him represent Great Britain, right? The duel with Mowat is no different than the duels that are going on in Canada. And then Cooey. And on the women's side, Tirizoni, Anderson, and Homan. Then Given, Fujisawa, Jones, Rana, and Hasselberg. Rana's hot, I'll tell you that. I mean, she's just beaten Hasselberg in that best of 7 to represent Sweden in the European.
You're the PointsBet master, Reid. Congratulations. And I guess with the new lineup, with Brad there, the start of the season, how crucial was it to get this victory, and how did you do it over Dunstone?
Yeah, well, a lot of the chat that we had as a team was coming into the year with a clean slate. We had a bit of a, up and down year last year, and obviously the start to this year has been really good for us, really solid. And yeah, you're playing like we played against Brad Gushu in the semifinal, which is no easy task. And then obviously Matt Dunstone, who is, probably tier the same as Brad, right? So 2 of the absolute best teams in Canada and the world. So to get 2 wins against them is a good confidence booster.
And how does Brad, the other Brad Jacobs, your Brad, slot into that position after being such a lifetime of skipping?
Yeah, you know what? Like, it's not an easy transition. I remember what it was like for me, but I feel like he's done an absolutely awesome job. But yeah, everything's a work in progress. Like, you know, even my job as a skip now changes a little bit to get used to the way he throws, because there's subtle differences between the two. But we've worked really hard to try to sync up a little bit better in that department, and I feel like, you know, we're on par with where I'd like to see us heading into the next part of the year here.
Reid, your patience. Canadians from coast to coast to coast commented on it all the time. And this is a question from Rob B. in Burlington. How did you stay patient in the game? Because there were a lot of times where you might have felt the heat, where you might have pushed things. But whether it's coaching Einarson, whether it's in your own games, there's a level of calm and Yoda-like presence in these big moments. How do you keep your cool and stay patient in these big moments?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I try to do is just manage my heart rate. You know, whether I'm playing in a club game or playing in a competitive game, I try to keep everything around the same, I'll call it temperature. You know, how I'm feeling, the energy. If I feel myself getting too amped up, I try to control my heart rate a little bit, and I do it through breathing. So that's one of the things that I try to do. And I guess with 10 end games, you always know that you have a chance until you're mathematically eliminated. And I think, you know, Brad brings a certain level of energy to our team, which helps us, because sometimes I can almost be a little bit too mellowed out. So yeah, it's a healthy balance, him and I.
Reid, how do you manage your season? Because you've got Carey automatically in the Scotties, doesn't have to worry about play downs. You're doing this double, triple duty, but definitely managing, you know, coaching one team plus handling your own men's team. How do you avoid burnout? Are you protecting that a little bit when you built your season?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I am protecting a little bit against that. There's been lots of conversations between both teams, because they do know that, like, at a certain point, I'm doing too much. And, you know, and that's probably why I've put a pause on the teaching gig. You know, I haven't really had time to do the substitute teaching. I've really just tried to focus on A1, being a dad, being as around as I can when I am around. So I'm, you know, active as a dad, but then also, you know, with my men's team and with the ladies team, giving them everything I have when I'm around. And especially the ladies, I'd say that they're very understanding. Being high profile performing athletes, they understand that sometimes I will have to say no and I can't be there for certain games. But when I am there, you know, it's we just kind of keep on rolling.
Keep all those hats on, off, heart rate down, breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah,
You're doing
right.
it.
Keep
Full
breathing
zen over here.
Yeah, keep breathing. Namaste. Okay, you got to get on the ice, because I know the team's coming. So we'll let you go, Reid. Keep it rolling. Great to talk to him. We've lost him. He's on. He's on to the next.
He's gone already.
Call. That's a lot to juggle that. And you know,
It
let's
is.
revisit sort of the points bet and talk about real quickly some of the big wins so far this season. You had Reid Carruthers defeat Dunstone to claim that, his second year in a row to do that. And of course, he had to leave the bench early of Einarson Homan to get ready for his game. But of course, Homan defeating Einarson in that game. So Carruthers and Homan win the points bet. Some quick thoughts on that call.
I mean, it was just an awesome curling and a lot of drama, right? I'm curious about the next Grand Slam in Niagara Falls. I want to see what that produces, and where that's going to be a sort of a bellwether moment of who's hot, who's not. I can't overstate the work Reid is doing. Now that I'm coaching and you realize, wow, it's exactly like playing. You got to be there early for the game. You got to chart the game. You got to pay attention. You got to watch other games when you're not even playing. The hours that Reid, multiply that for the, you know, Team Einarson, because I mean, they're 4-time defending Scotties champs. They want all the information. His commitment to do both is huge. I don't know how he's doing it.
We saw the first mixed double Super Series event in Sherwood Park this last weekend. Let's talk about this Japanese duo, Matsumura and Tanita. They won silver call at Worlds last year, losing to the Americans in the final, but they defeat Walker and Myers to claim the first mixed double Super Series. Watch out for this team as we look ahead to Chilliwack this weekend on the second stop. But some thoughts on this Super Series underway and the Japanese
Well,
team.
I love Walker and Myers. The Japanese team, like Walker and Myers, are devoted to the discipline. One thing about playing a lot of mixed doubles myself, it can be so random. I mean, look at the Canadian champs, Brent Lang and Jennifer Jones. You know, they didn't make the playoffs, yet they're a great team.
Right.
If you don't catch on to the ice you're on in that moment, if you make 2 mistakes in a game at Lead Rocks, you're just treading water as fast as you can. Yeah. So it's hard to read the tea leaves too much in mixed doubles, because next week it's going to be another champion. I'll be surprised if it's the same thing twice, right? So it's great to see a lot of new mixed doubles events across Canada. Like, that is a growing discipline, but we need more straight up devotion to it.
All right, so let's look ahead. That's what's happened already, a couple of the big bonspiels. You mentioned the Slam in Niagara Falls. We'll pay attention to that. So that's upcoming in about a week and a half. Starting later this week, we should point out that the Mixed World Championships, a team out of Quebec, skipped by Felix Asselin and, of course, Laurie St. George. That team is going to Aberdeen, Scotland to take on the world in that championship. You've won that one a couple of times.
You know, the interesting thing about Felix, he's had a hot season so far. I should have mentioned that. He looks, I think, really strong. When you look at kind of who he's beaten so far, it's quite impressive. I think they learned a lot at the Brier. Laurie just keeps growing as a curler as well. So good luck to them. Nice that they're in Aberdeen.
Good luck to them. The Pan-Continental Championships, remember that thing?
Barely. I don't know that anybody pays a lot of attention to it, but yet it's hugely important.
And it's at the end of this month, taking place in, I believe, Kelowna, if I'm not mistaken. And it's
definitely British Columbia.
Yeah, it's going to be Anderson and Gushu representing Canada. They need a top 5 finish, but of course, the Canadian women, it doesn't matter where they finish, because they get an automatic berth with Worlds being in Cape Breton, Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Cape Breton, Sydney. We are going there.
We had a heck of a time at the Scotties there. So watch out for that at the end of the month. So those are sort of the big things you should be paying attention to, over these next few months or few weeks, pardon me. And like you said, this will tell us a lot. We'll get a better sense of where people are at.
And if you're not paying total attention, don't worry. Devin and I have you covered, because that curling show's back.
That curling show is back.
Curling now enters the Sports Weekend Spotlight.